Caitlin, just looking at your image here, your self-portrait. It's looking pretty good. Got some different layers in here. You do have two clipped images, which is great. Let's see. I just want to look and see what is up with the... Okay, so there's some barbed wire there. So if we work on the horse image, I can turn off everything else and just make sure I'm highlighted on that layer. If you use the clone stamp tool, let's see, we might have to control click on this layer or right click or command click if you have a Windows, and we have to get this little menu to, and you might have to try this a couple different times. Sometimes if you don't do it quite right, you have to do it into the gray area here and then control click or right click in the gray area, and then scroll down and or up depending on, and make sure you go to rasterize layer. And then we can use the clone stamp tool. If we're trying to do it on a smart object, it just won't work very well for us. So if we're on the clone stamp tool, you can see the size of the clone stamp here. I think for our purposes, if we're working on trying to get rid of this barbed wire, we'd need like 41 pixels maybe-ish. And then we can click back to make that retract. And then on your keyboard, if you're on a Windows machine, you would press Alt. If you're on a Mac, you press Option, but you hold that down and click. You get like a little bullseye looking thing. And then you could come down here after you've clicked, and you can see that little plus sign above. That's where we're sampling from. We're sampling from that area of the image. So if I go around here, I can kind of sample. I'm going to do another Option or Alt click and just kind of bring that down, blend that in as best I can. And I might not grab that black. I might go, this one's a little tricky because it's in a weird spot where there's some shadows and things going on, but we can try our best. And I have my opacity and my flow at 100%, my mode at normal. There's some other options up here that I don't always use a ton, but, and then if I Option click, I guess I'll bring some of this black down in here. And I'm just kind of basically sampling from the above area and just trying to bring it down over the barbed wire. Just to kind of get rid of, because that was actually, I was like, what is that in the image? And even this spot, I mean, I think that's actually maybe supposed to be there, but in some ways because it's probably just like the sun or something, but and there are some, like, you know, grass maybe that we could kind of doctor up a little bit. I mean, obviously it's maybe not going to be perfect, but you could, you know, maybe do a little work on it to try and get rid of some of the more distracting spots in the image. You know, just to try and get rid of some of that. I mean, the feet are a little iffy, but you could still try to sample from this area and then maybe bring it over if you wanted to. There's only so much you can really do, but I think the most distracting thing is obviously this barbed wire. So, I mean, just working to get rid of that, and you'd just have to go along and work your way around and do your best with this tool. You know, the Option click, and then the plus sign shows you where you're borrowing from. I would say at least this area here and then the one across would be good to get rid of. Let's turn back on your layers here. But yeah, I think the composition looks really nice. I like the colors. I like how you put this together. The eagle's quite nice. Let's see. You could try layering over another image on top of the landscape, maybe like a sky image or some clouds, and then maybe change the mode on the layer, the blending mode, to try and kind of add some, I don't know, just make it look a little bit more like, hey, I'm using Photoshop and I can do some crazy effects type thing. Let me see here. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, image size. Let's just make sure. Okay, yep, this all looks good. 8.5 by 11 at 300. And then image mode, CMYK color. Okay. Yeah, and this looks good, your naming convention, and you did turn in the correct file type, so good work. I would just say maybe try using the clone stamp on some of those areas, especially the highlighted part of the barbed wire might be good to try and get rid of. You can always add a little more to it if you want with your time, as far as possibly experimenting with some different images in the background, or you could cut out this sky and put a different sky in, or maybe like a gradient background or something that makes it look otherworldly. Just to experiment with the medium of Photoshop, where you can kind of create really interesting fantasy scenes, which you've already started with the dock and the water, but you could take it even further with the time that we have left. Alright, we'll talk to you later.